Hey everybody, my name is Damien. I am super excited to be a part of this Teach with Tech event. Before we get into why I'm so excited about this session in particular, I want to be straight up with you, right? It's summer, it's nice out. I don't want to waste your time. For many of you, this is the session that you've been waiting for, maybe even dreaming about. I don't know. But for others, this session probably isn't the best fit for your needs right now, and that's okay. So here's how to figure out if this session is the right fit for you. This session is for you if you understand this fall, your classroom won't be business as usual. The words early access and early adopter, they don't scare you, they actually excite you. You welcome the opportunity to express your opinions and have your voice, your ideas listened to. And you're the type of teacher who wants to empower your students to become creators, not just consumers. Hopefully that's you. If that doesn't describe you at your core, you can use these 10 minutes that you just saved, go treat yourself to an ice cream, right? Unless, that is, you want to hear about our Teach with Tech giveaway. Then you're going to want to stick around after all. And just based on the fact that you're part of this Teach with Tech community, I know you're going to be into it. Plus, this is technically our launch year, so it's a pretty exciting giveaway, right? Now, for those of you that are still watching, let's do this. First off, I want to let you all know our true motivation for wanting to sponsor this amazing community and this event. We chose this community because, like you, we're here to learn. In fact, that's really all we've been doing for these last few months. We've been listening and learning. And it's conversations with teachers, principals, system leaders, and most importantly, students, where we've been trying to learn how each of these different stakeholders are preparing for a new reality this fall. A reality that's going to need to support a model of anytime, anywhere learning. And it's throughout those conversations that two messages really have emerged as consistent throughout. The first one being that no one knows for sure what to expect this fall, and that's okay. With that, though, educators aren't just sitting idle, right? You're actively preparing for a hybrid model of learning that's going to include some combination of in-class, at home, online, and offline learning, or what we like to refer to as anytime, anywhere learning, or more specifically, Spaces by My Blueprint. So you're probably asking yourself, what is Spaces? Who is this My Blueprint? And guys, those are fair questions. Really, we're not part of this community to talk about us. We're here to learn. But since 99% of you have probably never heard of Spaces or My Blueprint before, some background context would probably be helpful. As an FYI, we're not new to education. We're just new to you. So here are the Coles notes. We're Canadian. We got started 15 years ago. It was a research project at the time. Over 1 million students now use our Canadian programs every year with over 400 centralized district licenses. We're bootstrapped and we're cash flow positive. Now that last part, that's actually pretty important, especially this year. You don't want to get halfway into the school year all excited about some product just to find out that the company had to lay off their whole team and now you're SOL, right? So all of this is to say that we have the flexibility, we have the runway to use this upcoming school year as our launch year, where we can actually afford to give away this new Spaces product for free so that we can worry less about finances and more about feedback. Your feedback, the type of feedback that's going to help shape the future of student communicated learning. A future where learning doesn't end when the assignment is submitted. Which is actually a great segue, because now you know a bit more about who we are at My Blueprint, but what is Spaces? Well, Spaces is where students tell a story about why they're so much more than the grades on their report card. It's where students receive real-time feedback to support in-the-moment learning. Spaces is where students, families, and teachers all work collaboratively to support this hybrid model of anytime, anywhere learning. Maybe you prefer comparisons, right? Google Classroom, that's where Jimmy hands in his assignment. Spaces is where Jimmy reflects on his growth. Or the report card, that's where parents get an answer to, how did Jimmy do on his test? Where Spaces, that's where parents get an answer to, what did Jimmy learn at school today? Or if you prefer something a little bit more flashy, Spaces is a student-driven digital portfolio built for 2020. All right. That's the vision anyways. We actually need your help to get there, your feedback. We have the skateboard part built. We just need some smart teachers telling us what to add next. We don't want to build the car that we think you want. We want to build the car that you told us you want. So, are you ready to give your first piece of feedback? I thought you would be. Great. I'm going to paint a picture of how some teachers have told us they see Spaces working in their classroom this year, whatever that looks like. Right? So you can tweet at us. You can let me know if you have a different use case in mind. I would actually love to hear it. In this scenario, I'm going to talk about student-led conferences. I love student-led conferences as a way for my students to speak to their learning from throughout the semester. But, like many things, student-led conferences, they're going to look a little bit different this year. So here's what it looks like from the teacher's perspective. I've invited my students to join my class in Spaces. So the first thing they see is the class space. The class space is really where I'm going to start a conversation. I'm going to post a video explaining what a student-led conference is. I'm going to share some links to examples from last year. And this is where my current students, like Jimmy, we all have a Jimmy, they're going to use this space to ask questions. So really, we're using the class space to connect with each other, to create a community, and to start a conversation. As the teacher, I'm also going to set up individual spaces for Jimmy and all of his classmates. Okay, I'm going to probably call this one student-led conference. I set these up for my students. They may have different individual spaces for different projects or different units, but this specific space is where Jimmy is going to document the individual progress that he's making as he prepares for the conference. Everything from his goals to the evidence he's going to speak to the reflections he's making along the way. I'm also a big believer in peer feedback. So I'm going to organize groups of students within a group space at a few different times throughout the year. Kind of like breakout rooms in Zoom, where you pair students up into groups, and then we're going to ask them to share an artifact with the rest of the group as part of a peer progress check-in. Many of my students and my teacher colleagues, they also create and share personal spaces externally. These personal portfolios, they tell a visual story in a way that report cards and resumes just simply can't. Now, as a teacher, I can easily see a feed of everything that students are adding to these different spaces. I'm engaging with them. I can provide real-time feedback. Most importantly, though, I can start a conversation with them in real time. Now, guys, this is just one example of how I might use Spaces within my classroom. I chose to speak about student-led conferences, but you can really apply this to any project, any assignment, any discussion that's happening in your classroom. Using our iOS or Android app on the smartphone students already have in their pocket, or on our web app, accessible from any device, it's never been easier for students to capture the moments where growth happens, especially in a world where learning is happening anytime, anywhere. Guys, I almost forgot. As part of our launch here, we have a few prizes. This is exciting for teachers who want to make it easy for their students to document evidence of learning anytime, anywhere. We want to make that easy for you as well. That is why we're giving away 3 of these bad boys. You can bring it to your classroom. You can keep it at home. That's your call to make. It has everything you need to make your videos pop this year. It's got a camera, a ring light, a microphone, all built into one, and it plugs in your USB port. So how do you win? Well, step 1, you're going to want to follow us on Twitter. We have a few more giveaways scheduled for throughout the rest of the launch year. We're going to be using Twitter as our vehicle to tell you about them. And then step 2, and this is the important one, you're going to want to visit spacesedu.com/teachwithtech. Just like you see it on the screen. Don't worry about the www. By leaving your email, you're going to be joining our community of forward-thinking educators who are hungry to learn how you can equip your students for success in a new world of anytime, anywhere learning. And, if those camera setups weren't cool enough, we're also going to be giving away 50 free for life Spaces Pro accounts when we launch Pro accounts next year. The coolest part being, though, since you're one of our early adopters, you're actually telling us which features to build into that pro account. Doesn't get much more meta than that. Guys, thanks for coming out today. Thanks for passing up on that offer of ice cream. I appreciate that. Enjoy the rest of your summer. You deserve it. We appreciate everything that you do. Good luck with the contest.